Now, basically, the scuttle panel needs to go, I'm going to bring you in now for a closer look, it needs to go over the two wiper spindles, underneath the screen rubber, tuck in behind the lip down here, and this bit here should be attached onto the A-post and not onto there. There's a screw that holds that. If I take you around the other side of the car, if I point you this way, you can't see all the fucking rubbish. You got this panel here. That's the one that should be stuck on the side of the car. And then this, there's a piece on the back there. You see that? That needs to go over the top of it. So it can be a bit of a kerfuffle to get on. What I'll probably end up doing with this thing, first and foremost, is a fucking great big dent there. Look at that beauty. I don't know why. I'm not doing the bodywork on this. I'm just loosely assembling. Right, so what you'll notice on the deck panel is you've got these three tabs across the deck panel. What I tend to do is get those underneath the seal first, and then the rest of it should really slide into place. That dent over there still is not pleasing me, I'll be honest. Now we're going to get that out. Maybe it's just one of those things that the body shop has to do, but it's nice if I can leave it looking a little bit better than before. Put that down there. That might have done it. It's quite a big dent, so it's got a high spot there now, but it looks better than it did. Right, now, what I find is that these two brackets here that I mentioned already, they're a pain in the balls, because you can't easily get the seal under and then the bracket over. You get my drift. So, let me get a couple of lollipop sticks. I'm joking. Google these things, wooden spatulas, tongue spatulas, lollipop sticks. I buy them by the thousand, and I use them all around the workshop. So what I've done here is just use the lollipop stick just to ease the screen rubber onto the top of that flap. Okay, it is going to go. Maybe it just needs a little bit of silicone. I don't know. I don't usually use silicone. I normally just find that they do just go on. Now, what you basically need to do is you need to position the deck panel into an on, sort of like, you know, so it needs to kind of line up. That's what I'm kind of chuntering away saying, wasting my breath. And then just use the lollipop stick just to move it along, leave it there, push it in a little bit, move the lolly stick back, and this is how I get the screen rubber in. And occasionally when the lolly stick comes out, you're going to go right the way back to the end and start again. Oh, so it came out, it's a bit on the tight side there. Don't stretch it, because otherwise you'll just tear it. Now, and what I was basically going to say here is on this side, I have opted not to fit the pop rivet panel yet, because I've got just about enough movement on the deck panel to shift it and pop rivet it into place once the rubber is fitted. Now, I've got to go over the other side now, so you can look at me cursing over there. I'm going to take a couple of lollipop sticks. Now on this side, I'm still some way proud. The deck is a long way from the screen. So what I really need to do here is continue my work of putting it over the tabs without ripping it, and then stretch end of the deck needs to stretch outwards and over the piece that is kind of pop riveted on this side but not on that side, if you get my drift. I don't know if you get my drift at all. I don't get my fucking drift. So it's going into place. Right, that's done that bit. Now, this is not, that's probably because it's bent. Let's bend it back a bit. Oh, it's a tough old job, but someone's got to fucking do it. Now, that has gone in, but now the rubber is sort of trapped up behind. There's a bend there. That dent just pops straight back down again as soon as I've taken my eyes off it. Now I've got this far, I should be able to pop rivet this piece back in. Right, come over here. Right, so let's position that like it should go. And then pop rivet goes in. So this one's bent as well. Oh, this side might have to come out. Soon pop it back in though. Right, okay, let's pop rivet this on first of all. You can't pop rivet this on afterwards because it just will not work that way. Now, masterclass on pop rivet guns, this style. Did you know you get different size mandrels, whatever you want to call them? Did you know the size of the pop rivet is actually embossed on the side there? I was talking to someone the other day who'd never noticed that. 3.2. That's the one I'm going to use. Use the wrong one, and it will not pull your pop rivet in tightly enough. So I've got 3.2 on there, and I'm using 3.2mm pop rivets. Right, so that goes in there. He's in. The other thing with pop rivet guns is you can't always get the bit out. Now, if you pull it back, the handle back just a little bit further, it comes out every bloody time. You're getting a world of tips and tricks here, aren't you? And people will say to me, well, that's not very professional, using a shitty old bloody whatever pop rivet gun that is. Why don't you use a professional one? Well, because I don't need to. I can get away with some fairly basic tools working on these cars. And while it's nice to have professional tools, it costs a lot of fucking money. That was a funny noise, Richard. That was a funny noise. The other reason for pulling this out, of course, is that you can see what I have to do on this side now, which is pretty much the same as I did on the other side. So all I'm doing is pushing the deck towards the screen while I'm teasing the rubber. Oh, I got a bit berserk there. Because over here, you can have a look over there. Over here, it's all slipped down. Now, I've not put any lube on this at all. This is just dusty Burma Bright panels, and that's gone in. Right. Now, the other thing I need to do, this is the bit I was just talking to you about just now. Here, the repair panel is the wrong side of the deck. So what I need to do now is to pull the deck outwards, push that backwards and get the deck lip on the deck, so it's the other side of this. I don't know if you can understand that. Let's bring you over here so you can see me do it. Okay, that works. Okie doke. Right now, so there's enough give on these panels that when I lift it up, I can continue to pull it back and push it to the other side of the panel that I've just pop riveted onto the deck panel. Is all I did there. Now it's all out of shape and everything at the moment, but that will sort itself out as and when it's bolted onto the wing. These things have got so much give in them. It is ridiculous. Now, next up, put a screw in there, put a screw in on the other side, see if we can get it lined up with the hinge. Pickety up it is, and then put a line of screws on the front here, and then I can start thinking about putting the bonnet on. You can see the seal is over the top of the deck panel, apart from just over there where there's that fucking great dent. And I think once it's all screwed down, I might have to see what I can do with that. It's not the best deck in the world. So yeah, I'm going to stop recording and balance you back onto the engine. There is of course nothing to stop you putting the deck on after the wings. It's just the way I'm doing it this time. It's in the words of my eloquent friend Mello, it's neither shit nor apples. Hello Mello. Sometimes I think that Mello's like Donald Duck Dunn on the Blues Brothers. Who can name the two lines that Donald Duck Dunn comes out with on the Blues Brothers? Well, come as no surprise to you that I can. It's enough to turn goat's piss into gasoline, is one. And if the shit fits, wear it, is the other. Fuck you, I don't know. My customer's not quite managed to work out yet. You can buy the fixings from non-Land Rover supply and spend a shitload less money on them. I buy from somewhere like Wright's Automotive. Right, what we need here. He hasn't bought washers, so I just want to put small washers. I've got quarter washers here. Yep, quarter washers. Big bag of quarter washers probably cost me about, so there's 100 quarter washers in there, and that cost me about £1.50, I think. I could be telling lies, but I don't think so. I think that they were incredibly cheap. Well, that's a bit different. I didn't video this. I've done enough videos on fitting doors up, but so these are the doors that you've seen me weld the repairs in. Steve has done his magic with the paint, and then I fitted them up. Fucking look at that. No seals on here because the whole thing's going to go in for a body shop at some point in the future. So really it's just a case of me fitting things up and just getting everything into a state whereby the customer can inch forwards at his leisure with bits that he's comfortable with. No check straps on these yet. I need to do that today still. Yeah, must admit I'm quite pleased with the way those have gone together. Skins still need a fair bit of work, but that gap there, I need to adjust this deck panel forwards. The problem I've got here with the deck and with everything is that the whole of the bulkhead's been kind of handmade. And I'm struggling really to get quite a lot of the bits that really shouldn't be a problem done. But it is what it is. Right, the other thing I've been doing in here, just lob these bits back in the front again. Oh my goodness. Put it up there so we don't scratch stuff. The other thing I've been doing is I've routed the fuel return line down here under the duvet. Fuel return line's gone back into the base of the tank. I've replaced the mountings on the back end of the tank, and that was a ball's ache, I'll tell you now. Not because of the mountings, but because whoever did the repairs to the chassis decades ago, before it was galvanised, didn't cut the holes big enough. So it's a little bit of a kerfuffle, but we got there in the end. And then that one there, that's the brake line for the back axle. Haven't got the T-piece, and because of that, I've just basically got it to that point. On this, pardon me, this side, you can see down here we've got the fuel pump is in place, and then the fuel tank to pump line is in place. Once I've done the back brakes, by the way, this boot floor can go back in. I'm going to rivet that down for the customer. So next, really, I need to do is to run the fuel line from the pump up to the engine bay. But before I did all that, I needed some other crap out of the way in this workshop, because I'm just getting overrun with lots of little bits of cars that kind of need to be on cars before they go out. Now, when the parts arrive for the brakes, I'm going to be able to, at that point, bleed these brakes through. Then the wheels can go on. Oh, that'll be nice, won't it? Start looking like a car. That shot nice. Lines up nice as well. Yeah, so, I mean, even without the seal, I'm quite pleased with that. That wants to come back this way a little bit. Until I get the wings on, I'm not really going to know where the deck needs to go to, but it's not a horrendous issue. The other thing I do need to do, which I'd forgotten about, is that when the windscreen went in, I had to loosen the bolts from the A-post to the deck panel. And this is another unfortunate circumstance, because the bulkhead's been made up from sheet steel rather than from panels, repair panels. The alignment of the top end of the bulkhead against the A-post was about 7 miles out. Well, actually, we were exaggerating there. It was about 5 mil out. But it meant the windscreen wouldn't go in. So I've adjusted the deck now such that the screen is in. Sorry, adjusted the bulkhead now such that the screen is in. Now I can re-drill the holes and re-bolt the bulkhead sides to the A-post. But yeah, no, Dave, your car's coming together, mate. And once this is out of the way, because it needs to be, because it's being picked up next week. Next week it's going back to Bodmin. And then I can, well, we're going to do an engine start on Lincoln Green. The only other thing that I really need to do in here is obviously connect up all the fuel lines, the drive belts, get the plumbing and the cooling system all together. Actually put a light under there, Richard, it would be quite useful, wouldn't it? And then for the engine start on this one, which I'm not anticipating huge issues with, I need to connect up the fuel system, I need to connect up the exhaust system, I need to connect up the cooling system, and the electrics. I reckon this thing will go. It ran before, and all I've done is improved it, so it should run again, shouldn't it, really? Yeah, going to have a busy day really today. I think it's probably going to be fuel lines and engine bay. There's not an incredible amount. If I come up with something that's challenging me, then I'll video it. But I'm not going to video day-to-day shite, because it's just like, takes me time, distracts me away from the job, I'm afraid, folks. So I will do day-to-day shite videos, but not when there's a rush on. This is looking good. I'm pleased with this. I'm pleased with progress. All the hubs are on, all the brakes are together, just needs to do the brake lines on the back axle. Then I got the centre console up there, waiting patiently to go in. I know I've got things on the roof, and the roof on this thing is fucked, by the way, absolutely and utterly fucked, which is why I don't mind storing things up there. But on the whole, I mean, for instance, look at see, the bonnet needs saving because it's an early bonnet. But there might be some challenges around that. It might need some professional work, not me knocking things out. But, it fits is the main thing. Right, so I'm going to put the radio on and crack on with my day. And in today's featurette of me not filming anything at all, I'm afraid, so I'm going to basically just tell you where I've been and what I've done. I've routed in the electrics here, which turn out there for the electric fuel pump, and I've run the fuel pump line from the pump up until the engine bay. I need to route a little bit of heat resistant sleeving over the top of that just to stop the fuel from burning, because ethanol is more susceptible to boiling because of the non-petroleum content. Whoever's idea that was fucking brilliant, but never mind. The Americans and the Europeans have been using it for a decade without any problems whatsoever. Here we're in full chicken licking mode about ethanol in petrol. Right, and then I thought, you know what, I'm going to fit this boot floor. And I had some challenges, I'll be honest. I mean, right here, you can see there's a big old bend there on the boot floor. And similarly, a big old bend over there on the boot floor. So they go, what the fuck's that all about? I don't want to start adjusting the wheel arches or anything like that. But these galvanised, really nice galvanised cross members here, they've still got the full height kind of washer on them that actually comes with that bit fitted. Now the problem with that is that they're designed where you've got the full height washers on the chassis rails, which, if we look at the back of the car here, we haven't. We've got the 1 centimetre ones, not the 2 centimetre ones. The taller mounts on the chassis rails, they were really for cars where fuel rails and so forth ran along the top of the chassis rail. Just gave it a bit more clearance. Anyway, so I need to trim those back a little bit. That's probably why that bend and this bend down here have occurred. That, however, wasn't my issue, because I could have dealt with that. My issue was that the floor just do not fit by a mile. Now, I peeled all the green stuff off. This stuff, just don't fucking put it on there. It is such a balls ache to get off. Anyway, it's all off. The problem I had with the floor was it just didn't fit. And you see, I've got all the seals and everything ready to fit. Now, if we look along this lip of the boot floor, we can see it's relatively straight. Up here, in that sort of area, towards the front of the wheel arch, it does bow in a little bit here, and towards the back end of the wheel arch, it comes back this way. But barely a few millimetres in each direction. That side, more or less straight. Step into my office. Yes, we're in the banana office. I don't know what the fuck's going on here. I really don't. This is not a factory panel. This is something that's been homemade. And as you can see very clearly, from about here, the whole thing is too far over that way. Now, what I did, when the floor was in place, and I was struggling to get things lined up, I scribed along the edge. Now, there was maybe a centimetre gap here and a centimetre gap there, and here we're overlapping by a centimetre. So there's 2 centimetres out this panel, which is not an inconsiderable amount, really, is it? Really, I think what I'm going to end up having to do here is probably cut along here, front to back, nice straight line, put the boot floor back in, get one of the zigzag repair panels in, line that all up, tack weld it into place, take the boot floor out, weld it into place. But as you can see, yeah, that's been really amusing me today. The edge of the boot floor just isn't straight. Now, this damage down here was because before I realised how fucking far out I was, I thought I was this far out, the entire length, because I was thinking, oh, I could just about see that. That's not going to be a problem. And I went up there, oh, I can just... Didn't actually check this point here. So I've wedged a bloody great big piece of wood in there and stuck a tile lever down the back of it. This will straighten out. That's not a problem. Yeah. So I've passed the information back to the customer. As I see it, there's there's one option. One option is to cut this zigzag off here and weld one on that's straight. And then I think I can get the boot floor in. The other option, of course, is to cut a fucking great semicircle out of this edge here. Now, if I'm taking a centimetre out here, I'm going to still be clear at one end and the other and we're going to lose most of the rib on the middle bit. So I think it will look ridiculous. And I think really, while we're at this stage here, we might as well do it properly. Anyway, it's not my money. It's up to the customer. So I've passed the information over to the customer, and we'll see what he comes back with. I did have to, in other news, I did have to put another shim on the door because I really wasn't getting the door lined up properly. So I just put one more shim, tiny shim, behind the bottom hinge. I think it's probably just the weight of the door frame and the glass. That is just fucking beautiful. So that's all done there. That's all kind of ready. All the glass goes up and down, no problems at all. I still need to adjust the deck. And then I was going through the engine bay thinking, I'll get all the fuel lines and everything in. We were missing the bracket down here, which I had to fabricate, tidied up the brake lines. And then, could I find the pulley for the water pump? No, I couldn't. And the customer says, oh, we sent it off for powder coating along with all these bits and bobs. Can't have ever come back because I haven't got it. Which is a shame, isn't it? So I've ordered another one. Same pulleys used by P5, P6 Rovers and Range Rovers. Of course, the prices are Range Rover specific. So I feel sorry for all you P5 and P6 owners who are having to pay a fucking premium because everything's got a suffix written against it. By comedians who sell stuff on the internet. And because it was the only option, that's the one I bought. There was one, and honestly, it looked like it had been stored in the sea. I don't... Still struggling with my throat. Honestly, don't know what goes through some people's heads. Anyway, other news. Particularly throat now. Yeah, the customer very, had these done beautifully. Look at that. That's absolutely splendid, that. And it matches the kind of coating that he's had done on the inlet manifold as well. However, these bastards, they're for SU, HIF carburetors. Sorry, Dave. They don't fit on the old Stromies. There we are, there's an SU HIF one. And here is a Stromy one. And you can see it's got 3 bolt holes, and that's only got 2 bolt holes. So, yes. That's close, but no cigar. Anyway, I'll clean these up. They'll look fine.